Hello and welcome to Lifecentral Church online. Whenever and wherever you are watching this, you are so welcome to be joining us. My name is Andy.
And I'm Laura.
And we are normally one church in 4 locations in Halesowen, Hagley, Raleigh, and our church in Durrës, Albania. But today, as we have been for a very long time, we are one church in many locations, and we're so pleased that you have chosen to join us today.
Yeah, and we're going to be together for about 45 minutes today. We're going to have some time where we reflect on God and worship together. We're going to hear from our lead pastor, Leon Evans, as well. And we've got a great message in store today, so that's going to be amazing. But we've also got Tom Gregory with us, haven't we?
Yeah,
who's going to be doing a spoken word. And if you know Tom and you've heard his work before, you will know that this is something to get excited about. So that's going to be fantastic. And if you are watching this live, we're going to be chatting to Tom in the post-service hangout as well. But today's going to be a great day.
Today is going to be phenomenal, and we'll talk to you about that a little bit in a few moments' time. But last week we launched our Christmas plans and let you know, and we put it out on social media just to say, if you want to see everything that we're doing this Christmas, then you can go to lifecentralchurch.org.uk/Christmas 2020, and on there is all of the links to sign up for stuff, all of the links to get involved, all of the information, you can get it all in your diary. Just sit there and have a diary session and put everything in. But I just want to highlight one thing to you, and it is this: the Hope is Here card. We are doing a Hope for Your Street project this year, and we basically want you to take responsibility for delivering hope to your street, wherever you live. And what you can do is you go to our website, click on the Hope for Your Street project kind of section of the website, and you can sign up, you register your street, and then tell us how many houses you're going to be delivering. And then very soon you'll be able to collect the cards, the bundles of cards, from our reception. And then the week of the 7th of December, we need you to deliver. We want it a really targeted time, because in there is a great message about hope. There's a Bible verse, but there's also an invitation to join our online experience on the 20th of December, which is going to be our big Christmas production. So we would love you to get involved with that. So please do go to that website. You can scan the QR code that's there, and you can follow the links, go to the website, sign up, register your street. If somebody else has already registered your street, we'll get in touch with you and we'll find another street that you can do. But we need as many people as possible. We've got 10,000 cards to deliver, 10,000 homes receiving this message of hope this Christmas. And if you live far away, maybe you live a few hours drive, but you still want to take responsibility for your street, then get in touch and we will send you a bunch of cards that you can deliver on your street.
Excellent. And so we just want to take a moment as we move in today to say a huge thank you and to honour a group of people. In our church community, we have some incredible Connect group leaders. These are our small groups who gather in community and where we do community and family together. Those are what our Connect groups are. And our leaders for our Connect groups are phenomenal. This last season, they have had to adapt, they have had to learn new skills, they have had to do all kinds of things, and also support us as a church family and the groups that they lead. These guys are amazing. They give up weekends, they give up evenings, they pray continually for the guys that they are caring for and are in the communities that they lead. And so we just want to thank you. If you are a Connect group leader, thank you so much for all you do. Thank you so much for all you have done and all that you continue to do. And if you are in a Connect group, I'd really encourage you today to drop a thank you text or a message to your Connect group leader to thank them. We can thank them generally because we know they're amazing, but you know how they have helped and served you. So why not encourage them today? If you're watching this and you're not a part of a Connect group, but you are part of the Lifecentral family, then I would really urge you to get involved and plug into a Connect group. There's some next steps cards that you can fill in the link that's just below. If you go to that link and fill in the next steps card, you can become a part of a Connect group and experience one of these amazing Connect group leaders for yourselves. So if you are a Connect group leader, we want to say a huge thank you to you.
Absolutely, we do. Thank you so much. And we're going to dig straight into our talk. Now, we are continuing our Lost Arts series, and today we are talking about the lost art of conversation, and we're talking about that one habit that builds healthy relationships. It's going to be brought to you by our lead pastor, Leon Evans. So get your notebooks out, make sure that you take away any distractions. If you're on your phone and playing a game, Put it on airplane mode, give this your full attention, because I'm guessing he's going to be saying something about that. So please do take notes. This is the lost art of conversation.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for being here on time. Paul? Hey, Paul, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey guys.
Hey, Tyler.
Sorry I'm late. Having a hard time connecting.
1 second. Paul's having a sound issue.
I can't hear you.
Try adjusting your output settings.
Can you hear me?
It's the gear icon.
Tyler, are you on hotel Wi-Fi?
Yeah, why?
Never mind, I got it. I just had to change a few settings.
Great. Maybe we can get started then. Oh, great.
I think your mic is speakers.
My mic?
Do you have headphones?
You want me to put them on?
No, I want you to smell them. No, I want you to put them on. Hey, Beth.
Hey everyone, sorry I'm late. I had to download a new version of the platform.
You should plan extra time for the updates. There's pretty much one every time.
Sounds like someone just joined.
Hey guys, it's John. I had to call in. I'm stuck in traffic. Have I missed anything yet?
No, it would have been nice for you to join the rest of us, but we'll see you when you get home. All right, while everyone is here, finally, Tyler, do you have that financial report?
Well, it's been the last few weeks updating our books, and I got some great news for you. Schedule from this point last year. We had a great Q1.
We lost Tyler, I think.
Am I frozen?
Hey, Trip, I think we lost Tyler.
Yeah, I know, we lost Tyler.
Hey guys, it sounded like Tyler was cutting out.
We know, John. All right, while we wait on Tyler, why don't we go over all of the reports from... Beth, are you with us?
Oh yeah.
Okay, everyone, I know some of you have to leave soon, but I just wanted to go over a couple of the queries before. Okay, excuse me. My wife's out of town this week. I'm so sorry. Okay, you just spilt grape juice on the carpet. Daddy is in a meeting. Tyler, can you go over the numbers one more time, please?
I thought Beth had an adjustment. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, that's my iTunes.
Hey guys, hang on. I'm gonna join in. Hey, what platform are you guys on? Skype? FaceTime?
It's in the invite.
Oh, never mind. I see it. It's right there in the invite.
Okay, now I can see everybody.
Let's reschedule and let's just do a regular old conference call, okay? Paul, can you have David send out the 9-digit passcode?
I heard you.
Yeah, he's been here the whole time.
Hey everyone, I'm sure you connect with that. I'm sure some of you relate to that. But do you know what? I think we have a problem right now. And I'm not just talking about the virus, the global pandemic, and I'm not talking about a political problem or a social problem or an economic problem, because although I think this problem impacts all of those things, I think we have a relational problem. And I want to talk to you today just for a few minutes about this issue. And what I want to do is I want to do three things today. I want to diagnose the problem. I want to outline the solution. And then I want to suggest some application for you today, okay? And I think this could be a game changer for every single one of us. Every single relationship that we have, whether it's a romantic relationship, a family relationship, a friendship, a business, a church, even, can I say, for nations, this issue, this problem, if we could address this problem, could literally change everything. So, stick with me for the next 20 or 25 minutes and I'm going to diagnose the problem. So what is the problem? Well, the Prince's Trust say that 22% of 16 to 25-year-olds say that they grow up without having anybody to talk to about their problems. Almost 1 in 2 of our marriages now don't make the distance. In fact, the Citizens Advice Bureau are saying that during lockdown, requests for advice about getting divorced have risen by 20%. Politically and socially, I think we are more divided now than I can remember in my lifetime. Loneliness is worse for you, this is according to health research, than obesity. In fact, loneliness can cause you to die prematurely, or the rate of that is like 26%. It's a massive issue. But yet you might say, but we're so connected. Yeah, well, we are connected, but we're still so isolated. Why? We have lost the art of the one habit that builds healthy relationships, and that is the art of conversation. I think as a culture, and I'm not just talking about during coronavirus, I think as a culture, we have lost the art of conversation. You see, happiness is linked to the quality rather than the quantity of our relationships. And the quality of our relationships is directly linked to the quality of our conversation. The author called Susan George, she says this: our lives succeed or fail gradually, then suddenly, one conversation at a time. The conversation is the relationship. And it reminds me of an old Cliff Richard song. Some of you don't even know who Cliff Richard is, but I don't know whether you can even put in the chat, what song am I thinking about? It's so funny how we don't talk anymore. That's the song. It's so funny how we don't talk anymore. And yet you say, yeah, we do. We're always talking. Yeah, we are always talking, but we're not talking. You see, we're talking, but we're not conversing. We're sending out our opinions. We're tweeting and we're posting and we're sending out all of our thoughts and all of our feelings. But are we really conversing? Do we have meaningful conversation? And I want to suggest to you that this telephone is part of the issue. Now, before some of you switch off, before some of you younger people think, here he is, old guy, he's going to tell us to put our phones down. He's going to tell us that social media is really bad for you. Listen, I've got my phone in my hand more than most people, okay? And I don't think social media and technology is the enemy. In fact, I think this makes a great tool. It makes a great servant, but it makes a terrible master. And the reality is, one of the reasons that's impacting this lost art of conversation is our reliance on technology and on social media. Now, I want to balance what I say, okay? Because as a church, we're all over social media right now, and we're all into technology. And in fact, this is allowing us to stay connected and allowing us to communicate with you. We're communicating with you wherever and whenever you're watching this because of technology. So we're not against that at all, but there's a tension here. That in the discovery of all this amazing new technology, have we lost this beautiful art, the one health habit that builds healthy relationships, the art of conversation? You see, guys, we hide behind our screens. There's a new term now called phubbing, which is ignoring the person for the device. We retreat behind our devices. Anyone ever said this? I'd rather text than talk. Why? Because it's easier. Because it's one way, because it's clinical, because you can edit it. And so we'd rather text, I'm sorry, than have the kind of process. And we miss out on the learning and the insight of having the conversation to say you're sorry and learn through the mess of that. It's too difficult to maintain the tension. We'd rather work it all out and then just press send. In fact, Dick Veenman, who is the director of an organization called The Right Conversation, he said, rather than engage with the messy reality of talking, we stop listening. We interact with sanitized sound bites and not the reality. Guys, do we put people on pause when we reach for our phone? Do we substitute technology for real people? And so Siri and Alexa and SatNav, they talk to us like real people. Do we as parents have our kids in the room, but we're on our phones? A little bit like this photo right now. It used to be, we used to say to the teenagers, put your phone down, we're in the room. I wonder now whether actually our kids are in the room and we're the ones, parents, who are on the phone. Stephen Colbert, who's an American comedian, he said, don't all these little tweets, these little sips of online connection add up to one big gulp of real conversation? No, they don't. They really don't. What's wrong with real conversation? Well, I'll tell you what some of us think is wrong with it. It takes place in real time and you can't control it and you can't edit it. Guys, relationships are rich. They're messy, but they're also rewarding. And we're replacing relationships with connection, and it's not the same. We're expecting more from our technology than we are from one another. We are lonely, but we're afraid of intimacy. And maybe you don't use technology. Maybe you're not all over social media, but maybe you too have still lost the art of conversation. Sherry Turkle, who writes amazingly into this area, she says this: we want the illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. So guys, we have a problem as a society, but I want to outline the solution for you, okay, right now. You see, there was once a day when our relationships were totally perfect, where there were no issues and no fractures between us and each other, and our relationship with God was also perfect. And I want to tell you the story of something that happened that caused so much to go wrong. This explains gender inequality. This explains hatred and division and racism and fracture and brokenness. This explains why the world is as it is, Why we've never been more connected and at the same time more isolated than we are right now. Now, if you're not a person of faith, I want to encourage you, don't switch off right now, okay? I'm going to go right back to the start of the Bible and tell you a story that some people think is a fairy tale, a myth, or a legend. And so some of you, if you're not a person of faith, you'll be tempted to switch off right now, but don't switch off. Hang with me. This is so important. You see, the Bible talks about this guy and girl called Adam and Eve, and Adam and Eve had this great relationship where they had this conversation that was perfect. There were no kind of issues of brokenness or misunderstanding, and their relationship with God was also perfect. But God had given them free will, and He basically said, you could have anything you want in this world apart from that one thing. But this is part of the human condition. We'd rather go for the one thing that we can't have rather than enjoy all the things that we can have. And because of that one act of disobedience and that one act of rebellion, then there was a fracture in the relationship, not only between Adam and Eve, but also between Adam and Eve and God. And this kind of explains why the world is as it is today. Because of that one action, there was this fracture and this brokenness between people and between us and God and between us and our environment. And you see, God said, enjoy everything in the place, just don't touch the one thing. But of course they did. And with it, everything changed. With it came blame. With it came shame. With it came hiddenness and covering and fracture and brokenness and excusing and pointing the finger. And not only that, but the relational disconnection that happened then went on from generation to generation. And you and I in the 21st century, even though we are so connected, are still so disconnected when it comes to real relationship. And then one day after this had happened, after Adam and Eve had made this break, then God appears in the garden as He did many times before. And we're going to read in Genesis chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. And it says this: then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord God as He was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man, where are you? He answered, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. You might think, what on earth has this got to do with the lost art of conversation? How do I know that conversation is the one habit that builds healthy relationships? Well, there's something in the Bible called the law of first mention. Well, it's actually in our study of the Bible. It's called the law of first mention. In other words, when something is mentioned for the first time in the Bible, that's where you get the most accurate definition of what that thing is all about. And here in this little few verses that I've read to you, these little sentences that I've read to you, you see the first question that's ever asked in the Bible. Now, the first question that's ever asked has got to be really important. In fact, your first question is always really important. Let me illustrate. So, I have a brand new car. I don't, but imagine that I do, okay? And I bring the car back from the showroom and I say to Alison, my wife, hey, here's the brand new car. And she just looks great. And she's got a battered old car and she says, yeah, your car looks great. And then one day, a few weeks later, she says, can I take your car to the shops? And so I think about it and pray about it, and then eventually I say, yes, you can. She takes my car to the shops, and then about an hour later, she phones me, okay? This is a story, by the way. It didn't really happen. She phones me and she says, darling, I've got to tell you, I've smashed your car. I've been in a car crash. How important is my first question right there and then? What should my first question be? I wonder if any of you know the answer to that. Put it on the chat. What should my first question be? Darling, how is the car? No, that's not the first question. My first question reveals what's most important to me. My first question must be, darling, how are you? Not how is the car? And the first question that God ever asks reveals what is most important to him. Because when he comes into the garden, when he comes looking for Adam and Eve, the first question he asks isn't, here I am. He doesn't say, here I am. He says, where are you? Where are you? This is so important. God knows the answer to the question because he's God, but he still asks it. Why? And here's the big idea for today. A real conversation always contains an invitation. A real conversation always contains an invitation. Oh, guys, I want to say to you, this might sound so simple today, and often people say that we communicate simply. We do, but we are communicating some really deep stuff today, I believe. A real conversation always contains an invitation. You see, to God, relationship is everything, and to relationship, conversation is everything. Where are you? Is an invitation to assess your location in relation to that person. Now, whether you've ever been to a theme park or maybe you've been to a new city and you're looking for a particular ride in the theme park, or you're looking for an attraction in the city, and maybe before sat-navs and mobile phones, you used to go to a big map, didn't you? You know, like the big map in the theme park, or the big map that's in the city centre by the tourist information centre, and you look for it, and you look for the attraction or for the building that you want to go to. And when you find it, that's great, but that doesn't help you get there. You need to look for this little symbol that's coming up on your screen right now. You are here. You see, when you know where you are, then you can work your way to the place or to the person that you want to go see. And this question that God asks is the question that God asks every single person every single day. Where are you? It's an invitation to a conversation to establish and to reestablish relationship. When you know where you are, then you can relocate and you can connect again with that person. And so God confronted them in this conversation. And that question, where are you, was not just where are you geographically, it was, hey, where are you at? What's going on with you really? How are you really? And they reply, well, Adam replies in verse 12, and as a man, this is embarrassing to say this, but here we go. The man said, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it. Come on, men. I mean, what he's doing right there is he's doing the two things that we do. He's blaming and he's excusing. Do you notice who he's blaming? He's not only blaming the woman, he's blaming God. You put the woman here. So it's her fault, and if it's not her fault, it's your fault. It's anyone's fault other than my fault. And isn't that what happens in relationships, guys? Isn't that what happens in relationship, girls? Isn't that what happens when we excuse and when we blame? There's so much here in this story. There's shame, there's blame, there's excuse, there's hiddenness, there's division. And before I switch to our relationships, let me just say a few things about our relationship to God. You see, this flips on its head the idea that God is hiding and we are seeking him. It's the other way around. This flips on its head the idea that faith in God is merely a religion. You see, Christianity is the only faith that starts with a God who is looking for us. And you see, God comes to them in the cool of the day, which was evening time. Why does he do that? And it suggests that he did that many times before. I think God does that because he knows that's the best temperature for them. Doesn't matter to God, but it's the best for them. And then even when they're aware of their own nakedness and they cover up their nakedness with the fig leaves, even though this breaks the heart of God, and if you like, he has to do stuff and he has to send them out of the garden. But you know, as they go, he gets them to take animal skins and cover themselves with animal skins. Why? Two reasons. Number one, this is a signpost to what's coming in the future. God is already working on a plan to restore the relationship that had been broken through their own free will and choice. And this is a signpost towards the day coming when there's going to be a sacrifice that's going to cover our brokenness, and that's his own son, Jesus. But there's another reason why I think he gave them animal skins. Now, I've never tried this, and I don't suggest you try it at home. But you know, fig leaves apparently are very prickly. And so I think they're not quite so comfortable around your nakedness as animal skins. You see, even in this moment of disconnection and brokenness, God, out of his kindness, is moving towards these people. I think this is absolutely amazing. Where are you? is a question that leads into a conversation. Because you see, a real conversation always contains an invitation. A real conversation always contains an invitation. Conversation is the one habit that builds healthy relationships. And I think God established this by his first question, the first question ever recorded, being a question about relationship and about conversation. So what I want to do is I want to give you some application today. And I hope and pray that whether you're a person of faith or not, you take these three things on board. If you take these three things on board, if I take these three things on board, if we take these three things on board, maybe our relationships will go to another level. Maybe some of you who are watching this right now, maybe your marriage would go to another level. Maybe your family relationships will go to another level. Maybe at work where there's that fracture in that relationship. Maybe with those neighbors or those friends that you haven't spoken to in a long while. And maybe, can I humbly suggest, maybe our politicians and our leaders and our nation would go to another level if only we applied some of these principles. And so, how do we take our conversation and our relationships to another level? Number one, take your time. Take your time. You know, I think when you look at this, it says that God came to them in the cool of the day. And you get the impression when you read it that this wasn't the first time that God came to them in the cool of the day. You get the impression that their relationship together and with God was a slow one. It was one where they took time with each other. I want to, and I know, and those of you that know me well will know this is a challenge for me. And if you're an activist person and you're kind of a type A person or you're an Enneagram 3 like I am, you'll know that everything is about speed. But love has a speed and it's not fast. It's really not. I want to quote from Kazuki Koyama, who's a Japanese theologian. He says this: God walks slowly because he is love. If he is not love, he would have gone much faster. Love has its speed. It is an inner speed. It is a spiritual speed. It is a different kind of speed from the technological speed to which we are accustomed. It is slow, yet it is Lord over all the other speeds, since it is the speed of love. What would happen to our relationships if we slowed down a bit? So that instead of just projecting or speaking or texting or messaging, we actually slowed down enough that we didn't just send messages, but we heard messages. We listened to one another. You know, as I record this, we're in the middle of our second national lockdown here in the UK, and so there's very little that we can do in terms of physically connecting with each other, but we can go for a socially distanced walk with somebody else. And over the last 7 or 8 days, I've been on, I think, 4 socially distanced walks with other people. And I have to say, I've so been enriched through that process. Just literally walking for a fair amount of time and listening and talking and relating and conversing and stuff that I wouldn't have done ordinarily. But lockdown has given us this amazing opportunity. And guys, I want to say to you, especially if you are feeling lonely or disconnected, is there another person that you could say, hey, could we go for a walk? And when you go for that walk, take your time, slow down, listen to them as well as speak. It's so important. So number one, take your time. But number 2, take your turn. Take your turn. Proverbs 18 verse 13 says this: spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish. I want to suggest, if you ever want a game of table tennis, okay, then here's the key, okay? If you want to play a game of table tennis, if you're always the one that's holding the ball, you're never going to have a satisfactory game, okay? Because actually, if you hold the ball, it's a little bit like what happens in conversation. If I'm holding the ball, it's like I'm the one talking, you're the one listening. That's not conversation. That doesn't build a relationship. So I kind of really want to hit this ball at the cameraman now, but I'm not going to do it. But here's the thing. If you want to have a relationship, like if you want to have a game in that sense, you've got to release the ball. You've got to take your turn. You see, here's the thing. George Bernard Shaw, who's a famous British author, he said the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. Many of us in our relationships, we think, well, I have communicated. No, you've spoken. That's not communication because you haven't had a conversation. So you think the communication has happened, but it really hasn't happened. You see, when you think that I heard you say, take that thing up the stairs, all right, rather than leave it on the stairs, you think I heard it, but I didn't hear it. I'm joking there, okay? But here's the thing. What happens in communication is there is a process. You see, there is a sender of a message. There is a receiver of a message. In the space in the middle, there's lots of opportunity for things to get lost in translation. There's our cultural awarenesses. There's our past experiences. There's our personality and our temperament. There's our body language. There's our non-verbal communication. So when we think we said something, actually, the other person hasn't necessarily understood it. Lots of things can get lost in translation. I remember years ago when we were taking a team of young people out to Bulgaria, and we were doing a lot of practical work, painting orphanages and different buildings. And the guys there sent me an email back, and the email said this: when your team comes, can you please paint the widows? You see, one letter makes all the difference, doesn't it? What we actually painted the windows, like we didn't line up loads of Bulgarian ladies and start painting them. Literally one letter makes all the difference. Or the old classic stories of in China when Pepsi was released in China years ago, and the phrase on the advertising billboards was supposed to say, come alive with the Pepsi generation. In fact, it was translated to this: Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave. I mean, here's this thing, it's not the message that was meant to be sent. And how many of us, in our relationships, because we lose that art of conversation, and we forget that it's not just about us speaking, it's about us listening. It's about taking your turn. I know you believe you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. So guys, how do we rediscover this lost art of conversation? Number one, we take our time. But number two, we take our turn. What does that mean? It means, guys, please ask questions. God asked a question right at the beginning. Where are you? Because he knew the answer. No, he already knew the answer, but he wanted relationship. And relationship comes when you not only take your time, but when you take your turn. So I want to encourage you. When was the last time in a conversation you asked not just one question, but several questions? How are you doing? Really? And then listen to the answer. And then ask a follow-on question. How are you coping with that? How do you find that? How do you feel about that? And as you start asking more questions, that ping-pong keeps going between you and them. And then in that art of conversation, you discover real and meaningful relationship. I can't tell you how many times me and Alison have had this conversation where we've been out with people and they haven't asked us a single question in the whole of the interaction. And I know from speaking to many other people that can be the case as well. Has someone talked? Of course they've talked. Have we connected? Of course we've connected. Have we related? I'm not so sure. Guys, ask a question and ask the follow-up question. It's so, so important. And then when we listen to each other, guys, can I just say this as well? Let's listen to the boring bits as well as the exciting bits. Because when we listen to the boring bits, we hear a little bit of who that other person is. A real conversation always contains an invitation. A real conversation always contains an invitation. So number one, take your time. Number two, take your turn. And number three, take a risk. Let's take a risk in our relationship. Peter says in 1 Peter 4 verse 8, most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Guys, I want to say a few things. I'm drawing to a close. In your conversation, be fully present. In my research for this, I discovered that now people are learning how to maintain eye contact while they're texting other people. Maintaining eye contact while texting other people. Look, I can't even speak and do the same thing. Listen, when you do that, you don't communicate value to the person that you're looking at. You just communicate that you're learning a technique so that you can text while you keep eye contact. That's not conversation. In your conversation, always ask the second question. Don't just ask, how are you? Ask a follow-up question and then another question, because then you build relationship. And in your conversation, and here's a good one, why don't you make it about the other person rather than always making it about you? And you might think that you don't do that, but maybe we need a little bit of self-awareness and reflection. You know, I love this story that I heard many years ago about, it's set in kind of Victorian England, excuse me, and Gladstone and Disraeli were two politicians. They were both prime ministers in their day. They were both incredibly intelligent. And there's a story told that they're both at the same dinner party. And this very well-to-do lady is having a conversation with both of them. And she says this, when I came away from speaking with Gladstone, I felt surely he is the cleverest man in England. Then she says this, but when I came away from a conversation with Disraeli, I felt to myself, surely I am the cleverest woman in the whole of England. Why is that? Because one of them made her feel special. The other one spoke all about himself. Guys, how do people feel when they leave your presence? How do people feel when they walk away from a conversation with you, a conversation with me? Do they think, oh, they're really clever? Or do they go away thinking, do you know what? I feel enriched. I feel encouraged. I feel uplifted. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that change things? You know, our political leaders and our world leaders have lost the art of conversation. You know, even our communities and our businesses, and even, can I dare say, in our churches, we've lost that art of conversation. We're all about getting our opinion over. We're all about getting what we think's important over. And how does that make other people feel? And yet God, the ultimate, you know, you're going to sound crazy, didn't even play the God card. God went to us. God came to us and said, where are you? Where are you? How are you really? So important. In your conversations, take it deeper. I want to encourage you, maybe there are relationships in your world right now and they are fractured and they are broken. Could you repair them? Could you move towards them? And I don't just mean send them a text and say, I'm sorry. I mean, have an actual conversation. Get into the rich, the messy, the scary, but rewarding depths of real conversation, because a real conversation always contains an invitation. It did right at the beginning of history, and it does right now. I'm going to come back in a few minutes, but I want to pause for a minute, and I want to introduce someone to you. Tom, one of our guys here in the church, is an amazing guy who has been able to write and craft some spoken word. And what you're going to hear and experience in the next 4 minutes or so is not just a commentary on these last 7 or 8 months of coronavirus. It's also a bigger commentary on our society. And within it is an invitation to rediscover the lost art of conversation. This is called white noise.
"2020, you've been giving me visions. Don't have the diction to describe you, I've been watching Chuckle Vision. But when the laughter stops, 2020, I want to put you in my peripherals. Find some shade and just do something medicinal. I've never read 50 Shades, but I've still got 50 ways where I could lower the tone. Don't worry though, I've been going 50 days, I can't even lower my phone. You see, I'm addicted to social media, afflicted. No matter how much I feast, I just get greedier. Staring at a screen, self-medicating so my mind is full. I even tried meditating, but I'm still not mindful. So I don't mind fighting with the fam just to fan the flames. Patience has worn so thin, I've been playing Hunger Games. Could count the cost. I'd rather count on my lack of accountability, so that when I tell you about my life, you just hear the symphonies. I live outside of Jericho in the band of Bartimaeus, but my life is a concerto played by Wolfgang Amadeus. And no one else can be the highest. So rarely do I speak a word of kindness, and just like Bart, when I look into the world, I look in blindness. You can still tune into my frequencies. I can even teach you a bit about history. I've never touched a book or opened an anthology, but let me tell you about your culture in my Facebook apology. So outraged that I'll pray a lamentation to pay homage, never engaged to pay a reparation and break bondage. Didn't do empire at college, but I'm defending the truth now, so who needs knowledge? And there's no middle ground, so if we're different, you're a heathen. It's all in the name of God though, although I forgot his son is Middle Eastern. And now things are getting too tense. Penny for your thoughts, I've got to give my 2 cents, although it will cost more than 6pence for me to pay for 5 courses of my indifference. You want to open up a discourse, I've just opened up a distance. And I wasn't in your inbox, didn't need to outfox. You thought I'd be out on the pitch, but I'm up in the commentary box, telling you about our disparity. And the real calamity is that when the camera pans to me, there's no commentator, because I'm just a Pharisee. And you know I've been taking offence. All I've been doing really is making offence. With each one of my comments on the commentariat, the walls are so high now, I don't even have to look at the proletariat. You see, I'm impoverished whenever I play politics. I couldn't play Power Rangers. How is anybody left empowered when they live inside this echo chamber? So I don't want to share your content, but pass the cup for Judgment Day. Yet as I go to sip, I see the contents consist of Beaujolais. And I've been so faithless, so I don't just taste it, I drink the whole cup. Instead of getting wasted, all I do is wake up from my concussion. My son, go forth and multiply your discussion. You want to play in the band, you've got to play percussion. Because in the orchestra of God, questions are the melodies and the remedies are dialogues. That's the sound of the kingdom of heaven, where the court is always in session. When I get going, I get into the session. Don't get me started on intercession. Even the angels are harping on. More questions, please. Blessed be Michael Parkinson. And yes, I do want to pass this on. No man is his own island. Even when he looks so bad like a dad still wearing Stone Island. Thaw my heart shopping at Iceland. I was making a dog's dinner, but I met a God who came for sinners, ripped off the labels. At the Last Supper, even Judas sat down at Jesus' table. So stop telling tales. There's no verse that's a conspiracy about revelation, but he's given chapter and verse on the kingdom built by celebration. And it's right in front of me, like a raindrop that's glistening, but I'm gonna miss the drop unless I start listening. So bring back the artists and bring out the wordsmiths. This is not just a conversation, this is an act of worship.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? And guys, as we kind of come to an end, I want to challenge you in your relationships with people. Take time. Take your turn. And then take a risk. And guys, what about your relationship with God? What would it look like for you to take your time? What would it look like for you to take your turn? And what would it look like for you to take a risk? And I'm looking right into the camera now because I just believe that there are many of us in this season. And when it comes to our conversation with God, we're not talking. In fact, we go right back to where we started with that Cliff Richard song. It's so funny how we don't talk anymore. And I know that there is somebody out there and you're not talking with God anymore. Maybe you got hurt. Maybe something happened. Maybe it was your fault. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just life. Maybe you lost somebody close. Maybe something happened again and you lost something again and someone hurt you or someone let you down. And God comes to you because he loves you and he asks you a question, where are you? Not because he doesn't know, but because he wants you to establish where you are in connection to where he is. And he doesn't care how you are in that sense. He just wants to know that you're there. So you can bring anything to him. You can talk to him even if you're angry. You can talk to him even if you're hurt. You can talk to him even if you don't know whether he exists anymore. But the one thing that he almost like can't stand more than anything else is when we're just not talking. Because for God, relationship is everything. He's not hiding. He's seeking. And he's looking to restore that relationship, that healthy relationship with every single one of us. So where are you? Maybe you're sulking. Maybe you're hiding. Maybe you're pretending. Maybe you're running. Maybe you're cowering. Maybe you're blaming. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe you just feel overwhelmed. Wherever you are, God invites you to relationship today. And I want to pray for you. And maybe right now there are some of you and you would love us to pray for you. We're going to drop some prayer links in the chat right now. And you can go to next steps to our website, and someone would love to pray for you. You know, many of us, we read these prayer requests and we pray for you during the week. But you know, that's not the real power. The real power is that as you express that, that's like you're responding to the invitation that God gives you to reestablish and to build again relationship. So let me pray for you for a moment. Jesus, I want to pray for every single person watching this, whenever or wherever they're watching it. God, may they know that you love them so much. And maybe they have stopped talking to you. God, I pray that even today they would reestablish relationship through beginning again conversation. So God, would you help us, I pray. Thank you, God, that you love us so much. In Jesus' name, amen. Guys, as we draw our time to an end, I want to encourage you to spend a bit of time now and just connect with Jesus again through song worship. And we're going to sing an incredible song together. And it's just simply called How He Loves Us. And as we sing this song, let's remind ourselves that the very first question ever asked in the Bible was a question about relationship. Where are you? Why did God ask that? Because relationship matters to God more than anything else. Let's sing How He Loves Us.
Like a hurricane, I am a tree bending beneath the weight of His wind and mercy. When all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. And oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. How He loves us. Darkness has no hold on me. You are light and now I see. He is jealous for me. Love's like a hurricane, I am a tree bending beneath the weight of His wind and mercy. And all of a sudden I am unaware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory, and I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your affections are for me. Yeah, He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, He loves He is our prize, drawn to redemption by the grace in His eyes. If His grace is an ocean, we're all sinking. Oh, in heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss, and my heart turns violently inside of my chest, and I don't have the time to maintain these regrets when I think about the way that He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Yeah, He loves. Yeah, He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Yeah, He loves us. Yeah, He loves us. Oh, He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Yes, He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Yeah.
You know, there's a question that God asks us every single day of our lives, and it's this question: where are you? And if it's been a long time since you've talked to God, I want to encourage you to start that conversation again. Maybe you've never talked to God. Maybe you've never begun that conversation. You know, we would love to help you with that. In fact, we're going to put a link on the chat right now about our next steps. And basically, if you go to this link, we'll leave it up for a bit. If you go to this link and maybe just say, hey, I want to receive prayer, or I want to find out about the Christian faith, I want to start a conversation. You know, we run a course here called the Alpha course. We're going to be running one again in January. It's just around the corner. Again, that's a place for conversation where you can ask some questions. You see, conversation is always contains an invitation. That's what a real conversation contains, an invitation into relationship. But guys, I want to just say to you, you know, if you are a follower of Jesus and maybe your conversation with God has grown a little bit cold during this season, why don't you begin again? Why don't you begin that conversation process again? And here's a challenge for you. What would it look like if this week we initiated conversation with another human being? It might start with a text, but don't just leave it with a text. What would it look like for you to initiate a socially distanced walk with another person this week? What would it look like for you to take your time, and then to take your turn, and then to take a risk? You know, this is what I love about the Christian faith so much. It's not about religion. It is all about a relationship. And you know, in just a few weeks, we're going to celebrate that, and how God didn't just bellow at us. He didn't just communicate with us, but He initiated a relationship through conversation and through incarnation, through the presence of His Son onto planet Earth. And we celebrate that in the season called Christmas. We believe hope is here because of Christmas. And I'm going to hand over in a few minutes to Andy and Laura for our post-service hangout, and they're going to interview Tom as well about how he creates these amazing spoken word pieces. So don't go anywhere. But just to get us ready for that and the transition, watch this little clip. Some of you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, please share it with your world. This is what we're doing this Christmas season. Hope is here.
This year is unlike any we've ever known, and this Christmas people are asking more than ever, is there hope? We've got great news. There is. In fact, hope is here. Over the Christmas season, we're going to bring, proclaim, and demonstrate hope in 3 ways. Through partnering with the local community, through practical expressions of love and care, and through powerful content.
In all of our locations, we are looking to partner with the local community. We're working on virtual assemblies to send to schools. We're working on a media piece that can be shown in our local community. And we are working on a drive-through grotto for Haleshoe. And stay tuned to all of our social media for how we are going to partner with people for hope this Christmas.
We're providing opportunities for you to help and give hope practically this year. On December the 23rd, you can help give out Christmas hampers as part of the Christmas Lunch Project. You can also give us gifts for children as we partner with Operation Santa so that every child has a gift under their tree this Christmas. You can give toys or you can give clothes. We just want to make sure that everybody has hope this Christmas.
You can also give money. We partner with a compassion project in Tanzania. In fact, as a church, we already sponsor 100 children in that community, but there are still a few left unsponsored. Imagine if we could sponsor those kids and help lift them out of poverty. Now that would bring hope.
We are producing thousands of Christmas cards with a special greeting and an invite to our online production, and we want you to hand deliver them to your street. We want your neighbours to know that hope is here.
This year, our big invitation event, our production if you like, is a Christmas online experience. This is for you to go crazy with and invite your world to it. It's on Sunday, December the 20th at 10, at 4 and at 7 in the evening. The rest of the Christmas season will be pre-recorded content which you can use and share with your world whenever it suits you and whenever it suits them. Included in that will be
Jingle Jam, an at-home experience for the whole family.
Christmas Eve, reflective carols and a message to set us up for
Christmas Day, a short message from Leon, maybe to rival the Queen's speech.
Sunday, January the 3rd, a pre-recorded service for the start of the new year.
Christmas 2020 is a great opportunity for every single one of us to fully engage with the mission of Jesus and bring hope to our streets and our communities. Watch out for how you can be involved on social media and on our website with our special Christmas 2020 page. Hope is here.
Hope is here.
Hope is here.